In this video, we're going to be opening up and checking out a really cool and unique Iron Giant figure by Diamond Select, which is surprisingly only $30. And then we're going to go over a few tips on how to make a character like him still feel really big with toy photography. What do you think of when you think of Diamond Select toys? When I think of Diamond Select toys, I think of really big and really affordable. They often put out really big figures that are scaled pretty big, really big packaging, just pretty big. And they're usually at a pretty good price too, which is pretty cool. And they're never usually in the conversation as like, oh, who's putting out the best figures right now? Hasbro, McFarlane, what? Diamond Select is never really in that discussion. But every once in a while, they do something and they knock it out of the park. Something that nobody else is doing. For instance, this Hulk over here is probably one of the best Hulk figures out there. He's huge, he's intimidating, he's nicely sculpted and nicely painted, got extra hands and heads. This is like, I feel like I don't need another Hulk figure because I've got this one, he's big. So I'm really hoping I've got another home run on my hands with this Iron Giant over here. Like, come on, it's the Iron Giant, the Iron Giant. If you're from my generation, you're from the 90s, or even before, or even after, you definitely know the Iron Giant. When this movie came out, I absolutely loved it, and it seemed pretty culturally impactful because everyone else I knew really loved it too, and it's just a fantastic movie. Still one of the best animated movies ever. And so there's been a few action figures within recent years, not a whole lot. There's a 1,000 Toys one, there's another one from Diamond Select, but this one right here is the first one that I've seen where he actually looks metal and silvery, because this right here is the metallic Iron Giant. Collector's action figure with light up eyes. Wow, I didn't even know it had light up eyes until I just read that for this video. Nice, all right. But I actually picked this figure up in store at, what's the name of this store? Clancy's? Newberry Comics. Anyway, I actually picked this up in store for like 32 bucks. I'll have the link in the description if you want to pick this guy up. He was only like 32 bucks, and online he's about $29.99, which seems like a fantastic deal for a big figure. The paint looks good, lots of hands, accessories, and light up eyes. Heck yeah, like, come on, this is a fantastic deal. So I'm excited to open him up, check him out, do some toy photography with him, but one thing I really want to touch on in this video is toy photography with characters that are, giants, kaijus, really big things. Because typically we collect action figures that are 1/12 scale, but this is the same size as a typical 1/12 scale, but this is what, like 1/45 scale? Or something, he's usually massive, so it's really hard to shoot him in environments that are normal because he's supposed to be massive, and all of our environments are already massive. If I take a picture of him out in the grass, he's not gonna look very giant, I've got some ideas on how to make that happen for a pretty reasonable price, or maybe even free, whatever. Anyway, let's stop yapping and open this guy up. Did you know that the Iron Giant was actually financially very unsuccessful in the box office when it came out, which is wild to me because I thought it was this massive hit, but it only made like half of its budget. I can only imagine it did great on VHS sales and merchandise because everybody loved it. It's such a good movie. It's like a cult classic. Just a weird thing I had no idea about until recently. And here we are now, 2024, opening up an action figure. Heck yeah. Here he is out of the box, and he's actually a lot lighter than I expected. I was expecting him to be thick plastic. He's pretty hollow. Up here is pretty hollow, and then these big chunky parts on his forearms and his calves are hollow. I'm sure that's something that keeps the price down, and sometimes if it is too heavy, that can kind of make things difficult. Especially when I compare it to the Hulk over here. He is not hollow, he is thick and 3 times the weight of the Iron Giant. So that's probably why I was expecting that. He really looks great, he really does. Yeah, he is just a big silvery looking thing, which you would think, oh, it's very simple paint, it's just a silver paint. It's a bit more complex than that. He looks shiny and metallic, yeah, but the paint has a little bit more to it than that. It looks metal, and there's even a little bit of slight weathering in some corners and areas here, which I think is cool, and he looks really good. Honestly, when I'm opening this up, I'm having legitimate nostalgia for this right now, and I really want to go watch the movie. This is awesome. Also, he stands almost exactly 9 inches tall. That's pretty cool. Big fig. As far as articulation goes, he's pretty pretty standard. I mean, all of the points where you would think there is a joint, there is a joint for the most part. Robot figures like this have just very clear joints all over them in the character design anyway, so you can kind of tell where things would move. You know, we got joint on the elbow, joint on the shoulders, joint on the hips, on the knees, stuff like that. So it's nothing crazy, but you can kind of get what you need. One thing I did think was cool is that the shoulder here, not only do you have this normal articulation here, but you can also kind of twist this whole shoulder upwards, so you can still get hands all the way above the head like that if you needed to. So that's pretty cool. And of course his mouth does move, obviously. When I look at his foot, it looks like he has a toe joint that moves right here, right? It looks like that would be a joint, but it is not. That's just a fake joint for the design of the robot. So he actually comes with a lot of sets of hands, which is pretty cool. He does come with a little arm cannon thing, which is pretty cool. And I think you can just pop off one of his forearms and put this on. Confirmed, you can pop off either hand to put it on. Sorry, Iron Boy. And there you go, swaps on just nicely. Very easy to pop on and off. I always appreciate that very much. So I was checking the directions, because you should always look at the directions, about turning his eyeballs on and batteries, stuff like that. And I didn't see anywhere that batteries are not included. So it seems like it should just turn on. Okay, turn the lights off to be more dramatic. And let's see. Hey, not super bright, but I'm sure I could turn more lights off to make it more dramatic, but that's kind of cool. Okay, even more lights off now. Nice. Very dim, but in camera they look a lot more dim. In person they work kind of nice actually. I think this guy's awesome. I think this is a fantastic figure for 30 bucks. I know 30 bucks is, you know, higher than the normal $20 figure that goes around, but I think he's worth it for sure. So I'm giving this guy a W. Do you give it a W or an L? Let me know in the comments, W or L. I mean, this is an easy W. Okay, so what if you want to shoot this guy? What if you're a toy photographer and you want to shoot a figure like this that is actually a representation of like a really big giant thing? There's two major challenges that come with that. Two challenges. One of them is, like I said before, yeah, if you go and stick this out in the grass is gonna be way too tall. In real life, grass is not 15 stories high. No, it's not. It's the size of your shoe most of the time. So that doesn't really fit very well, you know, especially with somebody this big. I mean, yes, of course, there's dioramas and stuff that exists, but those can be expensive. What if you want to be cheap here? What if you bring this somewhere where there's no stuff around it to make it look bigger? Yeah, well, most of the time the background is still gonna have trees or something in the background that is still taller than him. In the movie, when you see a giant Iron Giant, he's gonna be taller than everything. The trees, even the stuff in the background. It's tough because you gotta find a spot where there's no stuff in the background. So, okay, what are the solutions? Number one, put some small things around it to give it a false sense of scale. Some smaller things, like miniature things, to make him look big compared to it. Or what you can do is bring this guy and shoot on somewhere like a hill, where your background is just the sky, because you're already high up compared to that stuff. So when I go out and shoot this guy, I'm gonna do everything I can to make him look big. So let me show you what I found that's gonna be really helpful. So check these out. I found these miniature trees at Hobby Lobby, and they are awesome. It was only $7, and I've got a bunch of little mini trees. Man, if you have a Hobby Lobby near you, they have so much stuff like this. It's all for like train dioramas. They've got so much stuff. Just by putting something small around him like that is going to make him big. He's gonna have stuff to give him relative size, you know? So I found these, and I also found some even smaller trees here that I cannot wait to use for a Godzilla video I've got coming up very soon as well. So please be excited for that. Check it out. Doesn't he look bigger already? And actually, these are really cool. These make such a huge difference, and I didn't even use them all. It was like $8 for a ton of trees. Great deal. I'll have these linked in the description as well if you want to grab one of these, but man, these are awesome. I also got these super tiny little deer, and look, they were only $1.99. So this is also, I think, something that will be really cool for him. $1.99, so cool. Well, I've got some relativity going on, yes, and that looks great, but obviously everything else in the background still is bigger than him. So let's go somewhere I've been there many times. I've got a great, perfect spot to see if I can make him look big. So yeah, let's go. Okay, so I'm over here on a hike right now on one of my favorite spots, Peebles Island in upstate New York. And right here, there's a little bit of a cliff, or a lot of a cliff, whatever. So if I sit myself up right here, I won't really have much big stuff in the background. So I should be able to make him look quite big, especially with the trees that I can set around him like that. So I'm gonna get myself set up and shoot something. Okay, so check it out. I've got everything set up, and in camera, he looks quite big, doesn't he? I mean, the sky and everything is very boring right now because it's unfortunately very cloudy, but he looks big, doesn't he? So it works quite well. Having nothing in the background, putting some small stuff around him, he doesn't look small anymore. So that's really cool. Okay, so I've got something a little silly happening for my shot that I want here. I've got the Iron Giant with a giant iron. I know. So it's looking kind of cool in camera though. Check it out. What I'll probably do is adjust the sky in Photoshop so then it'll look blue and not so boring and white. That will be really easy with the sky replacement tool. But anyway, I've got trees scattered all around in the foreground and alongside. I've got a couple of little deer there on the bottom, which is cool. And he's got a very interested pose looking at the iron. And I've also got a nice little stick to hold the Iron Giant up like that, which is very helpful because he did fall down there at one point. Here are my settings. I've got an f3.2, which is still pretty small, but wider than usual, just so I get more stuff in focus, like the trees. My shutter speed is at 1/250, which is very slow. I don't need any kinds of speed or anything. And ISO is at 400, like always. All right, let's go and take this shot. I've got everything ready. Let's just go and take it. Wow, it is not very often where I actually get legitimate nostalgia from an action figure, and this thing really is worth the $30. This is such a great figure. Plus, shooting these large characters, kaiju-sized characters, is so much fun and such a cool new, different approach to toy photography. This photo, along with everything else, as always, is posted on Instagram at sir.dork, TikTok at Sirdork730, and Twitter, of course, at Sirdork730. If you did enjoy the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.